Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, this is Alex and this is the Ramble, and we go until midnight tonight from New York, New York. Ladies and gentlemen, out to California, out to San Francisco, where people sleep in the streets. It's time for Larry Bubbles Brown. Hi, Larry.
Yes, we had somebody sleeping on our doorway the other night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's that bad. It's even
it
even reached Cow Hollow.
Cow Hollow is not safe.
Wonder why they called it Cow Hollow. Did they have cows out there?
I think they did like 150 years ago.
This is a place in one of the more expensive residential neighborhoods of San Francisco called Cow Hollow. And I often wondered about that because I used to tell people, I'm going to a big show. And they say, where is it? And I go, oh, it's the Cow Palace. Now, when I was growing up, you just see Cow Palace. That's the name of the place, right? But can you imagine somebody from New York hearing you say that? I'm going to the Cow Palace.
Palace.
What is the Cow Palace? And I think didn't they run rodeos, or they ran something with cows there or something?
They had rodeos there. They had the 64 Republican convention.
Well, I know.
Barry Goldwater got nominated.
64. Well, I was, believe it or not, I was there. Was it 56? Where was it held? It was held in San Francisco, and I think it was at the Cow Palace.
Again, okay.
Yeah. And I worked for CBS as a page boy. You know, had my little armband and the whole thing. Yeah.
So that was a Democratic or Republican?
Republican.
So that was Eisenhower and Nixon.
That was Eisenhower. Yeah, and Nixon. My father always hated Nixon until I was about, the time when I became a page boy. I thought that the first name of Nixon was that damn.
My father the exact same way. Just he had such a detest for Nixon, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, that damn Nixon. So, let's see here. So I'm going to be working with that damn. Anyway, so I'm at the convention, and I'm a page boy. That was good. I went and got I got some Alka-Seltzer or Tums for Walter Cronkite because he had a bad stomach from the food he ate the night before. And I sat in the control room watching Don Hewitt switch the show. And I was assigned to the control room in case anybody had anything they needed.
Wow.
So I'm there. I'm sitting there and waiting for some kind of an assignment. Somebody says, we need a page boy. So I said, okay, I'm your guy, because I don't want to keep sitting here. I'm sitting here forever. And they said, this is Mrs. Paley. Now, Mrs. Paley was the wife of the president of CBS.
Bill Paley.
Says, and Mrs. Paley and her entourage have to be taken to their seats in the Cow Palace. Here are their tickets, and here's where you're supposed to go. So I take them out into the Cow Palace, and as we go up the ramp, there's somebody giving a speech, and what they're doing is they're placing somebody in nomination, and the nomination was for vice president. And as I'm walking Mrs. Paley to her seats, the guy at the podium says, and I put in nomination the name of Richard Milhouse Nixon. And the band plays, whatever, and all of a sudden a bunch of people with placards that say Nixon's our guy or whatever are starting to march around the Cow Palace, and they bump into me and hand me a sign. and start marching me around the Cow Palace as Mrs. Paley and her crew are waiting at the seats I'm supposed to lead them to. And I'm going, I'm not for Nixon. I don't want Nixon. Here, take your placard. And I kind of fought my way back to Mrs. Paley. And I'll never forget that because I was an unwitting demonstrator for Nixon. And I took her to her seat, and she thanked me very much. And, you know, I went back to the control room and sat there and said, you'll never believe what happened to me. The other thing that was memorable for me is one of my great heroes in broadcasting was Edward R. Murrow, who worked for CBS. And he was working the 56th convention. And do you remember Edward Murrow? It never had it wasn't a day he didn't go by on TV. He didn't have a cigarette in his hand. He was always smoking, right?
I've just seen old tapes of him. I think I was too little to remember him.
Yeah, but if you saw tapes of him, even to this day, on person to person, always had a cigarette in his hand. I figured that was just like a prop or something like that. They sent me down to Murrow's office. I opened the door. I swear to you, this cloud of smoke came billowing out. And behind all that haze, okay, there was Murrow, and I handed him whatever I had to hand him. But, you know.
Did he die of lung cancer?
Well, let me see here. Echo? What did Edward R. Murrow die from?
I didn't find it on Bennett. Edward's cause of death is pneumonia.
Pneumonia.
Check it
So
select another answer on Amazon. Just say Echo.
No Echo. I don't want another. He died of pneumonia. So that would probably be associated with smoking.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, that was that's one of my interesting early broadcast things, you know, as being a page boy for the convention.
Well, it's funny that it shows you how different that the Republicans would meet in San Francisco.
Well, they met in San Francisco, and then they met again, what do you say, in 64?
64, yeah.
64. So, you know, they used it twice. I'm just trying to think if I think we were at the Cow Palace. That was about the only place you would hold a convention like that, you know. Although conventions today are a lot neater than they were. You know, they were really smoke-filled rooms, and you know, you went there and nobody had the nomination locked. And unless they, of course, were like Eisenhower and they were the nominee for the second time. And it worked pretty good. I mean, it was, you know, they went, they fought, and they maybe had something like 20 ballots, and then they got their nominee, and then the other party did the same thing. That's why I just don't think we should have primaries anymore. I think we should go back to that system. They didn't have primaries back then. And the reason they didn't is they're not mandated by the Constitution. They were eventually created by the parties who just wanted a way to pick a nominee by the people voting in various states. But you don't have to have primaries. They're not mandated. So.
Yeah, it's just a big thing to sell TV ads.
Yeah. You know, I mean, and what happens with the primaries and everything, it's like they're running for president 2 years before the election.
Oh, it never stops.
It never stops. It's a constant cycle. You know, the day after the election, they're going, who do you think is going to be the nominee in the next one? You know, and you go, who you really want to ask now? You know, everything changes. But you know, and the Republicans probably will nominate Trump this time. You know, why, I have no idea. They have a desire to lose, I think.
He's way ahead.
Way ahead in the Republicans, but way ahead of Biden, not at all.
Last I heard, he was ahead of Biden, and then there may be RFK might run, which would eat into the Democratic vote, so that could actually cause some real problems.
Well, no, he's only going to try and get the nomination away from Biden. That's his only. He said he's a nominee on the Democratic Party. But there's a third party they've created, and it's called I'm trying to remember the name of it now. But this party has a lot of money, and they're willing to put up a nominee, and they think that that nominee might be Joe Manchin. So, you know, it's insane. It's just insane.
Well, that could really change things a lot. The biggest third party we've had was H. Ross Perot in '92. He got 19 million votes.
Yeah, but even before that, see, I mean, he screwed up a lot. You know, he did this whole thing where all of a sudden he announced he wasn't a candidate.
Mm-hmm.
And that spoiled the whole thing. So when he came back and said, I am a candidate, they went, we've already gone on past that. Goodbye. So, yes, he did get 90,000 votes, but that's very little compared to what he could have gotten. He could have been the real spoiler in that election.
Well, I think he tipped it heavily to Clinton.
Yes. Yeah, it was tipped heavily to Clinton, and you know, it's I don't know. But I don't think that's going to happen this time. I think Biden is a problematical candidate, but I don't know if I don't think he's going to lose. I think he's going into this by being able to say, hey, you know, I curbed inflation. There are more jobs now under me. I mean, this is all true, you know. And I think he's got the best chance. I think Trump's got too much damage.
Well, if the legal problems alone seem like that would stop you. But
yeah. But who doesn't want to have a president who's in jail?
Well, probably all of them should have been.
You know, orange is the new black. No, the president is the new orange. You know, here's what's funny. If he goes to prison and he wears one of those orange jumpsuits, what with his face, he's going to disappear. Yeah. But anyway, so
what if he goes to prison? And he wins.
Well, what's interesting about that is, this is going to be fun. Let's say he goes to prison. Forget about even winning the election. Let's just say he goes to prison. He has to have Secret Service protection.
Yeah.
He's entitled to that for the rest of his life. So they're going to have to go to prison with him.
Wow.
So these guys will be in prison at least 8 hours a day. I mean, it's ridiculous. But anyway.
Someone was saying if he went to prison and he won the election, he could actually pardon himself.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if you can pardon yourself for crimes. You know? Otherwise, everybody became president would commit all kinds of crimes so that they could, you know, protect themselves. I don't know. I don't think that's true. But I'm not a lawyer. I'll ask. I have a guy who's a constitutional scholar who calls the show on Fridays. I'll ask him.
Ask him.
Yeah.
Because I've heard that you can, but I don't know what's right.
I mean, certainly he can pardon people, but can he pardon himself? I don't know if he has that ability. But who knows? You know. But anyway, so how's everything in San Francisco? You know, I keep hearing the most horrible things about San Francisco.
Well, it's not getting any better, and I just, you see all these stories like San Francisco's dying, it's not going to come back. But
well, I mean, San Francisco's dying. I mean, come on, the city will be there.
It'd be here, but there's like the downtown, there's just nobody down there now. The commercial space is mostly empty.
Yeah.
Because everyone works from home, and
yeah, but the question is boy, I'm having double vision right now. Come on, clear up. There we go. It's just that San Francisco is such a beautiful town that it is going to come ever.
No.
So
It'll come back. I think if you had money, it'd probably be a good time to invest now because it will come back.
Oh, it's definitely going to come back. It's just, is it going to come back in the same form that it was? I'll tell you what I find the worst part about San Francisco. Forget about people sleeping in the streets. That doesn't bother me as much as the fact that all those buildings they built, those high-rises. I mean, San Francisco was not a city of high-rises. San Francisco's beauty was dependent on the fact that all the buildings were kind of low. You couldn't build over 20 stories at one point.
That was nice, and then these high-rises ruined the skyline.
Yeah, and one of them's tipping over. I mean,
that's the Millennium Tower, yes.
The Millennium Tower is tipping over. I mean, it's just, I look at the skyline, and it's terrible. It looks horrible. I mean, New York City's changed a lot in that time too. We now look like the city of the future with all these pencil buildings going up, which we consider ugly, but that's the new New York. New York's always been like it's always been Gotham, you know. It's always been a massive city. So the fact that it makes those kind of changes, makes a lot of sense. But in San Francisco, the beauty of that town was just you can't see the hills anymore because of those skyscrapers.
No, that old skyline with the 3-story buildings and the Coit Tower was great.
Yeah. So I mean, you've lost that beauty, but it's still a beautiful town. It's still a town that feels great, you know. I mean, come on, tell me there isn't anything better than the night when that fog rolls in, you know, and it has a real feeling as you walk down the streets. It's a beautiful, wonderful city, and I hate I literally feel upset every time I see what's happening to it.
They've killed your town.
My hometown. That's where I was born, and my whole to this day, my whole being is based upon that town. Okay, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's kind of sad. It's really sad, and it's your adopted town. I bet you don't like seeing what's happening there. You know.
No, it's horrible.
It's horrible. It's just horrible, and I just think that it doesn't have to be horrible, but it is, and I don't know. But so otherwise, so you're going to the doctor to get your eyes done.
Get my eyeball measured.
Do you have a little blurry spot in the middle of your eye? Is that the reason why they're doing it?
The cataract, so they had to do this before they did the cataract surgery.
Yeah, well, then they do the cataract surgery. The cataract surgery is the easiest thing in the world.
That's what I've heard. I've freaked out on this 4 times. I've canceled 4 times at the last minute, so they're not happy with me.
You think that them cutting into your eyeball is going to hurt, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't. They put some stuff on your eyeball that completely numbs it out, and they literally could stick a knife through it and you wouldn't feel it. You know. And they do this little work. It's fun. They do it, and then all of a sudden, everything in that eye goes black because you have no whatever it is they put in there, no lens. And then they put in a new lens, and all of a sudden, it's clear. You know.
Now you had so when you had that, you noticed you could see much better right away.
Oh yeah, better in both eyes.
And you didn't have any problems with it.
No. Well, I had one eye done. And then about a year later, I had the other eye done. Actually, it's better than the lens God gave us, you know. So it works pretty well. Although I still have my problem is as time goes on, my eyesight is changing a lot. But when I first did that, my eyesight actually cleared up, you know. And but the thing that was the biggest problem was that blur in the middle of my vision that you couldn't get rid of, you know.
Yeah.
And but it's a simple operation. It used to not be. It used to be they would send you home and you would have to sleep on this block, They kept your head in one position all night, and you had to do that for 3 months.
Jeez.
I know, it's strange. Now they just do this. They put a cup on your eye. You get a little cup on your eye. You look like a real retarded kid, you know. And then you go to the doctor the next day, and they take the cup off. They check out your eye, and they send you home. That's it. The cup's there so that while you're sleeping that night, if you sleep on your face, it doesn't affect the eye or whatever, and then they're good to go. And then I think about a week later they have you come back and check it out, and then that's it. Don't come see us again unless there's a problem.
Okay.
So don't worry about it. Who's doing it?
Kaiser. That's
Kaiser.
why I'm worried.
Well, I can't speak for how your vision is going to be at Kaiser, but you happy with Kaiser? Kaiser, by the way, is an HMO, ladies and gentlemen. Didn't used to be. When I was a kid and I was with it, it was like socialized medicine, they called it.
Did they?
Yeah, it was, and it was too. I mean, it was started by Henry J. Kaiser, who built the hospital for his employees. And then he opened it up for union members and their families. And that's where I went in because my father was part of the musicians union. And we used to go there. I think we gave him $2 or something.
$1.
$1? Yeah, something like that. And then they would do everything they had to do, you know. And as a kid, every now and then I would need I had some kind of problem or whatever. They would take care of it. But then they turned into this horrible hospital. It just went HMO, and it changed.
It went HMO, and now they're much more profit. Even though I think they say they're nonprofit, they've got like a very overpaid CEOs.
I don't know, but it could be that most hospitals are nonprofit by nature, you know. But like I go to Mount Sinai here, which has gotten terrible over the last couple of years. So it's such a good hospital, and it's just. I don't know, it just seems so mediocre now. I mean, when I had my seat operation, they had this thing that they had to put, you know where your taint is?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's between your penis and your rear end, and it's called taint, because taint penis and taint rear end. And then they have this little plate they put in there so the doctor can then install the C's. Well, I went there I'm all dressed up, ready to go. I'm in the scrubs and everything, and they send me up to the the doctor comes down and says, "Oh, we can't do it today." Why? Well, that little thing that goes in your taint, they didn't get them in time. I'm going, what hospital doesn't keep these in supply? I mean, this is something that's done every day, and they should keep a supply of them. So I had to come back a week later. And that was good because the week after that, they stopped doing all operations at Mount Sinai because of COVID. So I got in just under the wire. But
you're lucky.
But you go, hey, you know, this is a hospital that should have this in supply. Send me up a taint, please, or whatever they call it.
We've become more and more third world, so it's not surprising.
It's not surprising. None of it's surprising, you know. But you Kaiser is your hospital of choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people I know go to Kaiser. Is it?
Actually, I've got some very good doctors there, but.
How much do they charge you a year to be part of Kaiser?
It's part of the Medicare Advantage, so it's $70 a month.
Oh, I see, the Medicare Advantage. Yeah, I don't do Medicare Advantage. I do the $300 a month plan, where they take care of everything. You know, there's no copay, nothing.
Really? Maybe I should do that.
Huh?
Maybe I should do that instead of Kaiser.
Well, it depends on how much you need it. You know, but the copay at Kaiser, how much is the copay at Kaiser? You start adding that all up.
Now it's $10.
$10?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I wouldn't worry about it. You know, but anyway, you know. You're on Medicare, I'm on Medicare. What has this world become, Larry? How old are we getting?
Yeah, I know.
You know, we were, I wasn't supposed to live this long, you know, by statistic. And, you weren't supposed to be funny this long. So, you know, but it's great talking to you again, Larry Bubbles
As
Brown.
always, and you should come out here. We'll do a show with Lori at the Cow Palace.
At the Cow Palace.
Yeah.
Right. Moo. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Larry Bubbles Brown was playing at a club. Were you playing anywhere up in the Bay Area?
I'll be at the Punchline next Wednesday, the 26th.
Next Wednesday. With who?
Michael Meehan, Johnny Steele.
Okay. That sounds like a good show. People should go over there and see you at the Punchline. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Larry Bubbles Brown. Yay.
Now in its 9th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Yeah, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Hopefully we'll see you next week or the week afterwards, but I think we'll probably do it next week, too. So we'll see. Anyway. Hello, everybody. How are you? It's Friday, okay, and I'm just getting a little bit older, day by day, you know. Anyway, I think it's time probably that we go over and check the Zoom and see if anybody is there. Let me let me see here. Let me just admit all. There are just 2 people waiting, you know. And I guess, well, there's Jeff Stein and there's Josh Wheeler. Hello, Josh. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
And Jeffrey, of course, is trying to get on here. And yeah, we got your audio, so just give us your video, Jeff.
I'm working on it. I thought I'm on, but
Huh?
give me a chance.
See where it says a camera there?
I gotta get rid of something.
You got a picture of a camera. See where it says stop video, start video, whatever?
No, I don't know where that is.
Huh?
Where is that?
In the very bottom of the Zoom thing.
Huh?
The Zoom app. The very bottom.
Yeah, I'm on the bottom.
You see what it says there? What does it say? Mute? Does it say mute?
No. Maybe it does.
Does it say start video?
Start video, yes.
Okay, there. You click on that. There you are, and there we go. We got your head.
And you can hear me.
No, but yeah, there we go. Give me more of your face. More of your face. More of your face.
Yeah.
More of your face.
Okay. Slow.
By the time we get Jeff on, the show's over. You know.
Today it doesn't. My head doesn't want to move.
Well, you move the camera. Do you have a camera there? On top of it? Do you have?
Yeah, a little camera. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it? What? Do you using a laptop?
CAD.
What?
Mac.
A Mac. Are you using a laptop?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, well then, why don't you just take the lid and move it forward a little bit or backward a little bit, and it'll put you in the center of the picture. No, well, anyway. Hello, Josh.
How you doing?
Yeah. You're using a laptop, right?
Yeah.
Could you show them what I mean? See? That's what happens when you move the top on your laptop. See? Yeah.
Yeah, I get that concept.
You get
I can't get it to move.
Apparently you haven't gotten it completely.
No, I don't.
No. But anyway. So it's just us, guys.
At the moment.
Huh?
At the moment.
Yeah, at the moment. And it probably will remain that way, I think.
It'll be okay.
Yeah, well.
Kevin was coming here in a second. Patrick said he was too, actually, but
Oh, good.
they're not as speedy
Yeah,
as
it's
I
kind of
am.
like our Saturday nights, and we can just forget
Yeah,
everybody
right.
else, right?
I'm just more dedicated than they are.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. Well, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I mean, I GabNet outrank them, so I have to show
You
up.
GabNet outranked them. Oh, wow. Wow, I never heard that one before. Oh, now we
I'm gonna
lost.
reset this.
Now we lost your camera, Jeff. You got to go back.
I'm gonna reset this thing.
No, you don't have to reset anything. Just go down to the bottom. You see where it says Start Video?
Yeah.
Click on that.
I did.
There you go.
Oh, down there.
Yeah.
Good enough.
It's simple. No real problem. You know. But we give Jeff a lot of leeway, folks, because he at one point in his life had a stroke, and that causes certain coherency problems, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Sure does. But this is proof positive that you can have a stroke and come out okay on the other side of it.
Well, somehow you got to work around things.
Well, yeah, I mean,
like asking Alex to help me.
yeah, exactly. So when I make fun of you, I'm just kidding you. I understand what the process is and what the problem is with it. Okay, so I understand that.
Yeah.
And
The other part is it's very difficult to read anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that when
So
I
when you
say
go get this word.
yeah, wow. Well, don't feel bad. We have a couple of senators who are not in too good shape these days.
I know that.
I saw a picture today of Dianne Feinstein. Have you seen her lately?
No, but I heard about her.
There too, right?
Yeah, it's gruesome.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean,
Is she 90 years old or something?
one of her eyes is something. I don't know, something wrong with it. And I mean, she shouldn't even be in Congress right now. It's time. Enjoy what few years you have left. You know, I'm not picking my nose, folks. I get an itch inside my nose, and then I have to scratch it. Wait a minute. What were you doing with those chopsticks? You were running them through your hair first, and then you were eating with them.
I had a couple ants cruising around my head. It's okay.
Okay, fine. Whatever. Anyway, back to Josh for a second. Josh, I mean, what do you feel about it? I mean, I think maybe Dianne, it would be nice if she just said, yeah, you know, and gave Newsom the chance to appoint a senator so that she wouldn't, you know, so that it wouldn't suddenly be a big race for the Senate, and you'd have an incumbent in there once you run for the next Senate seat.
Yeah, I mean, I have, no problem with her, having that right to serve, but a few of these folks are reaching, for all they talk about, Biden, for example, there are a couple, like you said, senators who are far worse off looking and acting than he is. I mean, Feinstein is in pretty bad shape, it appears, and McConnell had his own set of issues the other day. I mean, I'm not being funny. I even sent something to Patrick and Kevin saying, I think we saw him maybe having like a little mini stroke or something. I mean, he looked pretty bad. And then, what I was saying about it was, and then, he went to leave and he was walking the wrong way and they had to stop him and turn him around. And I said, if the president had done that, they'd have a problem with it,
Yeah.
But I also said, but let's not make an issue of that because, they made an issue of that with Fetterman and with other people. I don't want to make an issue of it. I think he was having a health problem. So leave the guy alone for me. If you don't like him and you'd like to see him dead and buried in the ground, okay, whatever, that's fine. But there he was at work having a health emergency. That was, not good. And I think, Chuck Grassley, I mean, when he looks, I mean, he has trouble stringing sentences together. I mean, it's just, it's not as if these folks are accomplishing great things, because nothing's getting done.
Yeah. Right,
so
right.
It's probably a good idea that a few of them decide, that it's probably time for them to, like you said, to retire. I mean, look, if they don't want to, they have the right to work, and if the voters reelect them and have judged their age, They have that right as well. But I would agree with you that personally, for me, I think that it's a little counterproductive for them to be serving because I don't really know how much they're serving. I mean,
yeah. Well,
are you really getting the best representation?
Jeff, did you see what happened to Mitch McConnell the other day?
I don't remember.
Where he suddenly phased out, didn't say a word. Yeah, because I wanted to ask you if you thought that was a stroke. A lot of people think he was having a stroke, or a mini stroke.
Very difficult.
And again, I don't know. I guess I'm breaking my own deal here because I said we shouldn't make it political. But 6 months ago, people in that man's party were saying Fetterman shouldn't be allowed to serve because he was mentally not all there.
Yeah.
But their leader, I just think, why does any of that have to be? I guess I am not making political. I'm asking why anyone has to make it that way. Why can't we just say, wow, that person over there, if I had passed them on the street and not known that I disagreed with them politically, and I saw them having that problem, I would stop and help them. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference? I mean,
But in Connolly's case, you'd push him into traffic.
Well, yeah, yeah. You can't take away the fact that you do know who he is, I guess, right? So you can't unsee him.
Well, look, I agree with you, what you're saying. They made a big deal about Fetterman, but they made a big deal about Fetterman because it was a Democrat who won the Senate.
Yeah, and they lost.
Okay, and they lost. So right. that was the problem there more than anything else. Who knows if Fetterman's doing his job or not? I can't. I haven't heard one way or the other. I don't know. Have you heard anything about whether he's?
I mean, it seems like he's getting better.
Yeah.
He left there for a while to get some depression treatment after his stroke. Remember, he took a short leave of absence. Which I can understand. Absolutely can understand.
Yeah.
Personal experience. So, I mean, and he seems to be recovering well from probably, well, I'm not him, but I'm sure that year was probably the most traumatic, worst year of his entire life. I mean,
Well, again, we can go to Jeff. And Jeff, were you depressed after your stroke? Did you go through depression?
I think I was depressed a little bit, but I was more frustrated, and I wanted to change it, and it was very difficult because I could hardly speak well at all.
Right.
And it actually took me a year with a lot of therapy to be able to communicate pretty well.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of words that I couldn't remember. They no longer existed for a while. And my ability to talk actually is much better today than it was over 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah. But last night on this show, Phil went into a whole thing about Biden and how problems he has and so on and so forth. And that bothers me because for all intents and purposes, the only thing that's wrong with Biden is he's a bit older, has a tendency to maybe trip every now and then, as you do when you get older. I know, because I always have to be aware of my equilibrium now, where I didn't used to have to. And that's a very common thing. It will happen to all of you out there. And the other thing is he's always had a stutter. And as you get older, those things which you have, which are, well, I don't want to call them problems, but little differences, things like that, the inability to, speak without stuttering, his stutter is going to become far more pronounced as he gets older,
Yeah, but he's had a stuttering problem all his life, and he's worked through it. It's just coming back a little bit.
Well, I think he worked through it, but as I said, as you get older, those things like that become more profound.
Right.
Okay.
He had the problem. He worked through it and conquered the problem more or less. Still got it a little bit. Everyone that it stutters does, but it's coming back a little bit more because he's getting older. But the problem is, a certain president a year ago brought all these things to light because he had to make that bring that to the forefront with everybody. It didn't matter who it was, anybody on the other side or whatever he didn't like. He brought to the forefront all that stuff.
Yeah,
and
he
now
communicated with everybody.
it goes back and forth. It goes back and forth now. It doesn't matter who it is. Somebody's going to bring it up about the other guy, and the other guy's going to bring it up about somebody else, and it's just going to continue to happen until somebody just shuts it off and stops doing it.
You see, the question is not does he fall and trip occasionally. The question isn't does he stutter, okay? The question is he capable of making decisions? And apparently he is, because he seems to be doing a pretty good job of president. You know, certainly far
more. The question is, who gives a shit as long as he does that, makes a decision, and can do the job?
Well, we don't live in that age now, my friend.
Well,
we live in a time
we
where
should go back to that age and just leave it alone.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's a personal preference, I guess. You know, right? I mean, but I just it's all this like emotional wanting my team to win type of thing, because it's not really based in any sort of factual evidence or whatever, because the facts would bear out that some of the best leaders this country have ever seen were physically diminished. You know,
Roosevelt.
Yeah, and I told these guys the other day that someone at my work cracked a joke saying, you know, that, well, at least Trump doesn't have to take a nap every day like Sleepy Joe.
Yeah.
And I can't say it because of the position that I hold there. And I wanted to say, well, you know, Winston Churchill took a nap religiously every day and was also pretty much drunk most of the other time and worked out pretty decent.
Worked out okay. How did it go for England? Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
You know, so throwing a nap in might not have been a bad idea.
Well, you know, I mean, I wouldn't. I listen. I know that I get tired about late afternoon, and I suddenly doze off while I'm watching television, and then I'm good to go for the rest of the day. Well, you know, I mean, I understand why that happens with him, but we don't know about Trump. We don't know that he doesn't nap twice a day. You know, I mean. Plus, you know, the thing that I hate about Trump is he's now complaining about, you know, that the Justice Department is loaded against him. You know, Biden is using the Justice Department as a weapon, and I'm saying to myself, wait a minute, I'm saying to myself, what the hell did Trump do when he was in office?
Yeah, you're right.
What was Bill Barr more than weaponizing the Justice Department?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you know, I know Alan said something, but I was just saying, I mean, you know, Eisenhower, multiple heart attacks. LBJ had a heart attack before he was president. You know, I mean, Reagan obviously has his own. I mean, there are plenty.
Well, you also JFK had a horrible back.
Sure, physically correct.
You know.
Yeah, so there are plenty of examples, if you want to look, of physically diminished capacity. You know, diminished physical capacities that had no bearing on the performance of the person. You know.
Now, if I felt that Dianne Feinstein didn't have diminished capacity, I'd say go for it, gal. You know,
right.
I don't care if you got a few problems here and there. But she had a problem yesterday where she had to give a vote, and instead she started reading a speech.
Yeah.
Well, that's really diminished capacity.
Yeah,
okay, and you're not doing your constituents much good by doing that. You know, I was thinking about it, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Everybody goes, how wonderful she was. You know why she was terrible? Because she should have quit earlier, so that the president in power at the time, which was Obama, and he had asked her to resign so that he could appoint somebody in there instead of waiting for the next administration, which might not be democratic, which it wasn't. But she wouldn't go. So for anybody that wants to say Ruth Bader Ginsburg, wonderful woman, yeah, right. You liked her because she was old, right? You know, old people can get away with a lot, but she wasn't. You know, she wasn't that. That wasn't a very smart decision on her part, and it was a good idea for Obama to ask her to. You know, yes, Alan?
Hi, I'm sorry I missed the show last night, but I watched it later on. And I gotta tell you, I know I'm gonna get shit for this from Phil, but he just, he was talking over everybody, wouldn't let anybody get there. Yeah, I mean, you're right, Jeff. I mean, it sort of ruined the funness of the show. For me watching it, I'm sure for the people on it yesterday.
It was difficult for me too. I mean, when I have somebody driving in the car with me who's drunk and starts tugging on the steering wheel, it's pretty hard to drive. And it's the same thing with somebody like Phil doing what he did last night. I could walk away from the show exhausted, exhausted.
I think he went overboard last night.
Yeah, but why, I have no idea. By the way, I want to say hello to the Brian with a Y. Hello, Brian with a Y.
Hello, Alex.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Let me just throw something out there. Like Biden versus Trump is like the questionableness of Biden's diminished capacity at his age.
I don't know that he has diminished capacity.
Well, let me finish. I'm sorry. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Versus Trump, a total effing grifter.
Yeah.
I'm from New Jersey. I could throw a rock, and within the distance of that landing of the rock, there's like 3 people that got ripped off by this guy because of the Atlantic City. I'm in South Jersey. Yeah. And it just blows my mind that South Jersey is the most Republican that you get in the blue state of New Jersey.
Right.
We are the district of Van Drew and all that stuff. That's a little inside baseball if you follow that.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is, you want to talk about Biden versus Trump, Biden wins all day long. But the thing is that, like, there's the Kamala problem. And Trump, he doesn't have a running mate yet. It was going to be Carrie Lake. I guess they were, remember when she moved down to Mar-a-Lago and now?
Yeah.
I mean, if that's the question.
The trouble is she went down there, they just asked her to move some boxes around.
I heard it was going to be Marjorie Trash Can Green.
Yeah, like let's see his running mate. Like, listen, because between Biden and Trump, I trust Biden 1,000% all day long. And I'm nowadays, I'm more middle of the road than I've ever been.
I'm far more positive about Kamala Harris than a lot of people are. But I think if you look back at the history of vice presidents always get that kind of attitude from people.
But not all vice presidents have the potential to take power. For me, I don't like her, never did. I think she's fake. I think she has a huge, and you can debate that with me, that's fine, but she has a huge problem across the board with being trusted by the general population, which is a consideration. But
I'm saying that we do that with vice presidents a lot. I don't know if anybody will disagree with me here, but I mean, you look at vice presidents in recent times, and the vice president is always passed off as being some kind of doofus or whatever, and their opinion is ridiculous. But if tomorrow Biden dropped dead and Kamala became president, I kind of think she might be up for the task, whether you believe it or not, because it doesn't look like it. Anybody who disagrees with me? Go ahead.
No,
take it from there.
I agree with you 100%. The vice president is by itself a job to do nothing until the president gets killed.
It's pretty much a job of doing PR for the president.
Yep.
Well, Cheney changed all that. I don't know if that's true.
Well, Cheney was the babysitter for Bush. That was a different situation, but I agree with you about Cheney.
I think it depends on the administration. I don't think you can look at. I don't think you could go back to Gore and all that and look. I don't know if that's true, and I think people look at that, and that's the only thing that he has as a negative. But that's whatever. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's just Trump has the pleasure of not having anyone as his, because there's a lot of Trump people out there on the right side. So it's like he's got the pleasure of not having anyone to answer to, because Biden against Trump, Biden wins all day long. I'm not worried about it. But I think there is a consideration to be made with the vice presidency. And I don't think the vice presidency is what it used to be, where it was just waiting for the president to die. I don't believe that.
But does he dump her now?
He's not going to dump her. She's a friend of Bo's.
Yeah.
Well, no, it isn't. It wasn't so much. It isn't so much that. I think it would just. You just don't do that. Although Roosevelt did it, I think he had a couple of. How many? Anybody know how many different? 3 different vice presidents out of 4 terms. Yeah. So he did it.
He's not going to do it.
Huh?
Times have changed. You keep the vice president you got.
Well, I mean, yeah.
No, I don't agree with that either, because Trump ain't keeping Pence.
Trump isn't.
And he was an actual president. He ain't keeping Pence. I don't agree with that either. But I think in the Biden situation, I would agree with you that he ain't.
I think his attitude about Pence is abominable, and I'm not a big fan of Pence's, but Pence was very loyal to him, and always stood in his corner in any situation, even when perhaps he felt a little uncomfortable doing it. Because he realized that was the job of a vice president, is you're partially the PR person for the president.
Except that he didn't do one thing, and that's all it takes when you root Trump.
Yeah.
It only takes one thing, and
then
boom, you're out of the club.
If you're out in his book, you're out.
Yeah, Pence was terrible at coups, and
that's good.
He doesn't belong.
Yeah. Hello, Patrick. He's connecting his audio. There. Hello, Patrick.
Hi.
Hey, Patrick.
How you doing? We're talking about old people in office, because Connolly. What happened to him was just amazing. I mean, it was just he stopped. He just stopped, whatever he was saying, and it wasn't like he was thinking about what am I going to say next or anything like that. He just stopped, and he just
on a human factor, it was scary.
Yeah.
I was expecting him to fall over.
Yeah, he started to fall over. It looked like,
but I don't think so.
And what's his name? Who was the senator next to him that told him that he should back off?
Yeah, because the senator was a doctor.
He was a doctor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it was Ross.
And they took him away, and then he came back, and they said he was a little better. But
he said there was nothing wrong with him, so that's the way he's supposed to answer.
Well, I'm not buying it.
I'm not buying it either.
No, you can't buy it. It's not.
But that's what he's supposed to answer. So.
Huh? Yeah.
That's what he's supposed to answer.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yeah. So I mean, it was. But getting back to last night, so you heard it, Alan, not being on it. I didn't realize you weren't there.
I unfortunately sushi ran later, and I was able to get on Jack's show. But I watched it afterwards, and I think he went overboard. I think it just, you asked Kevin a question, and he wouldn't let Kevin talk. You asked Jeff a question, he wouldn't let Jeff talk. He just stepped all over everybody, and that's not normally like Phil. Phil pushes stuff, but he will normally calm down.
What was it about?
I thought Tony was smoking his coffee.
I can't even remember what the topic.
God, you thought? Yeah, really. Tony was really off the wall too.
Yeah, Tony was annoying last night too.
Oh, Jesus.
What was it about? I'm sorry, I
watch the show later on.
The only thing I think
basically they were blaming. They were saying that he was basically that the debate was that they felt that Hunter Biden was a reflection. Joe Biden was it was a reflection
of Joe Biden.
Hunter Biden, yeah.
Hunter Biden was a reflection.
But he was
of Joe
responsible,
Biden.
basically.
Yeah.
For Hunter Biden.
And I said no.
No.
I mean, he was also he had another son, Bo, who was a ideal human being. I mean, he did all the right stuff, and he died. And this is the one that's left, and this was the one that was always trouble, always had a problem. But you got to realize, in that family, he was raised in a family where his mother died,
his sister,
and his sister, and then Bo died. I mean, come on, that's got to be pretty debilitating for any human being to go through. And Phil had absolutely no sympathy for that. Now, I'm not saying that Hunter Biden, if he makes mistakes, shouldn't have to abide by those mistakes and pay for them, okay? But I am saying that have a little compassion for the nature of the guy and his ongoing problems with drugs and everything else, that he's had a pretty terrible life.
Well, it was that he was facing up to those, and he was going to go to court and everything else, and he didn't even accept that.
Yeah, but I mean, to suddenly blame Joe Biden for Bo's actions, not blaming Trump for not being a good father, although I think he was probably a horrible father. So
I'm not sure how old he was, but
I'm sorry. My suggestion is, personally, I wouldn't vote for Hunter Biden into public office.
No, of course not.
So that's really? That's the whole freaking point. It's like, this is all a distraction. You want to pin it on him. It's like, oh God, let's talk about nepotism.
Well, the reason the
last freaking guy
isn't even in the conversation, though.
Yeah, but the reason why they're going after Hunter Biden right now is because the Democrats went after Trump and impeached him twice, and they're trying to get even with this and thinking this is a reason we can maybe impeach Biden. Listen, if you're going to impeach every president who gets into office, we're going to spend our entire time wasting it. Yes, Alan.
My thought last night when I was watching the show when Phil was blaming the president for Hunter Biden's actions. My thought was, if I was on the show, if Hunter Biden had gone out and shot and killed somebody, would they go and arrest Joe Biden? No, he has nothing to do with it.
Right.
Right. And so, that was really a sad line that Phil took.
He didn't, Hunter Biden didn't pay his taxes.
No, and he should be held accountable for that criminally and civilly.
And by the way, he's paid that back. Okay, he's paid it back, and now he's saying, I'm willing to plead guilty, and we'll make a plea deal here, and they made a plea deal. So who gets hurt?
Didn't take it because she's a Trump supporter, or he put her in office or something.
I mean, Brian, are any of us hurt because Hunter Biden paid his taxes finally?
No, we all have to pay ours.
Yeah.
I think as long as it's being dealt with like any of us would be dealt with.
Yeah.
We'd be in jail.
Well, no, we might not even get caught because we're not the president's son.
That's true.
Okay, I mean that's his cross to bear, is that his father's president of the United States, and any actions he does, he's going to be scrutinized far more than you or I would be. Mm-hmm. Maybe we could get away with not paying our taxes. Because they don't have much of an enforcement division in the IRS anymore, and we could probably get away with it. But hey, if you're the president's son, don't plan on it.
I say let's lock up Hunter Biden as soon as I see Jared Kushner's dick on the floor of the Congress. That I think that'll be a fair trade.
Look who we got here as well tonight. Don Giller is going to join us here. Hello, Don. Or can I call you Donald?
No.
Donnie.
Yes. Dan Geller, ladies and gentlemen. There he is, Dan Geller.
I just wanted to point out that Gerald Ford changed his vice president.
Wait a minute, did he?
When he was, he picked Nelson Rockefeller at first.
Yeah.
And then when he ran for election in '76, he picked Bob Dole.
Okay. All right. I trust your memory because mine's shot. You know?
And
mine's
Biden will not change his vice president. That's all I'm saying.
No.
Yeah.
No, you're right. He won't.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
But
I mean, what's your
by the way, Roosevelt had 4 different vice presidents. He had a vice president, different vice president every time he got elected.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
I thought you brought that up
and
earlier.
So is Trump.
So somebody did.
And his
but you're questioning how many he had.
Oh.
Well, the last one.
I know, because one of them was Henry Wallace.
Well, Henry Wallace was
relationship.
No, there's
my uncle.
There's a problem with Henry Wallace that he had. He was too popular.
Yep.
And I don't think Roosevelt really liked that too much. You know, he didn't want. In fact, he might have almost been as popular as Roosevelt at the time. You know. And then I think he ran on the Socialist Party or something for president.
Yeah, Wallace did. Yeah. He was very, very liberal.
Very.
Kamala's just unlikable and unrelatable. She's not going to get fired. She's got the job. That's my thing. Like, if Biden's going to keep Kamala, I mean, who here would put money on the fact that he would actually change?
Well, she ticked off all the check marks for the 2010s, 2020s. The check marks were woman, check, liberal, check, and then also the very important one, minority, check. So she made all the she checked off all the marks.
But she was more than that. She was like Pacific Islander.
Mm-hmm.
Woman of color. I mean, it was as identity politics as you can get. I mean, it's all of it, you know. So I mean, she's not so much of a nightmare that she's going to get kicked off the job. Like, I don't even think it's even worth talking about. He's not changing. Yes, did people change? Sure. Trump, he's clearly going to change his vice president. You know, but I
don't know who he's going to get because Adolf Hitler isn't available. You know,
he's not. That's the problem.
But Trump's not running as an incumbent.
He's not running as an incumbent. It's funny you should say that because he isn't.
Not according to him.
I guess he's not an incumbent, is he? No.
Trump is not an incumbent.
No.
You skipped a term.
Well, he'll be the only other president to run after skipping a term. Am I right? I'm thinking that Roosevelt was the only other one, and he did that on
Grover Cleveland.
Oh,
Grover Cleveland.
Cleveland did it too. Yeah. Okay. But Roosevelt did it under the Bull Moose Party.
But Roosevelt lost while Cleveland won.
Yeah, which I think we should bring back. I think we should bring back the Bull Moose Party. I'm all for that. You know. But. Now we have this whole situation, Josh, where we've got our president is about to get, I think, indicted again.
Former president.
Yeah, former president. Do you know we never call him President Trump? Everybody on the news calls him Mr. Trump.
Good.
Yeah. They really don't call him President Trump. And you're supposed to. I mean, you call Obama President Obama. When I interviewed Carter,
Obama didn't try and take
I called
over
him Mr. President. You know what?
I said Obama didn't try and overthrow the government.
Mm-hmm.
Grover Cleveland had 2 different vice presidents when he ran the 2 times.
Okay, but but you can do that. You know.
Yeah. Which is what Trump is going to do when he's nominated.
Yep.
Yeah. Do you think he's going to win the nomination?
Yeah, I do.
That's right now at this moment. But let's say we're down the line 4 months, 5 months, and now he not only has 1, not only 2, not only 3, but 4 not charges against him, but indictments against him. Do you think he's going to survive that with the American public? Do you think the American public wants to,
I think he'll survive it by the Republican Party.
Yeah,
I think the media, no matter what media it is, they love a good cockfight.
Yeah.
And I think last time Christie was just one of many on the stage back in 16, but this time he's the only one swinging for Trump's face. And I think they're gonna boost Christie up. If he can get the numbers, and it looks like he is, to get on the debate stage, there's going to be a lot of time given to watch that cockfight happen for ratings, and that will do some damage. I think I don't know if Christie will get the nomination, but Christie will be kicking him in the nuts.
Yeah, I wouldn't let him get away from the prosecutor in Christie will come out. Yes, Don.
No, I'm sorry. There are too many people, and I feel like I'm interrupting.
No, you're not. You're not. Go ahead.
I agree with you that Christie will be the strongest anti-Trumper, but there are too many Trump lovers in that party that will disregard anyone but Trump, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I'm sorry. I do agree with that, and I don't know if that's what's going to launch. I'm not saying Christie will be the guy who takes it, but Christie will do damage. It's these middle of the road guys that are the ones that decide this election.
All these people that are afraid of upsetting Trump's base.
Yeah.
Again, we're not talking. At least I'm not talking about the election. I'm talking about the nomination.
Right.
Yeah.
The primary.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, and I think. Oh, okay, right. I think Christie will do a lot of damage, and I don't know if he'll do enough damage that they'll seek either someone else. I don't necessarily see them going for Christie. So could Trump get the nomination? Sure, but Christie will do so much damage.
If Christie could do this, Trump might lose the nomination, and that is if he can make him look weak in that debate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the Republicans love that shit.
Because he ever is in those debates is a bully. He never brings
one alpha.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
and so the fact of the matter is that if Christie comes out swinging, it would blunt him a great deal if he can't come back at it.
Well, the issue there is I don't think Trump is going to attend any of those debates,
and that will hurt him. That's a mistake. You can't. You think he's going to let a dialogue happen without his fat face in there? Like,
I don't think he'll go to any of the debates.
Well, no, he might.
I don't think so either.
They say here's what they're planning on doing. What he's planning on doing, not doing the debate at the same time the debate is on. He's going to have an interview on Twitter with Tucker Carlson.
Ain't going to work.
Well, that's what he's planning on doing.
Yeah, I heard, and I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah. What do you think, Don?
I don't think that Trump avoiding the debates will hurt him among his base. Right. And as of now, and for the last 4 years, he has the largest base within the Republican Party.
But it's only about 30%, Don.
Yeah, but I don't see it receding.
Yeah, but I mean, anecdotally, very strongly though, as we discussed last Saturday, like I said, I can drive 9 miles to the grocery store and 9 miles back tomorrow morning. And as we discussed last week, probably count for you in that little drive 30 to 40 houses that I will pass with at least one or more Trump flags, signs, banners, etc., flying or attached to the house.
That is
yet to see a single sign for any other Republican candidate yet.
What bothers me is, are there that many stupid people in America?
Yes.
I mean, this guy.
I personally, I live in a district that he won basically 87% to 13% or whatever in the last election. It was basically it's the largest one. I haven't met so in other words, you cannot do anything in this county without running into people who love. I haven't met a single person who is even remotely willing to vote for another candidate other than him.
Hold on. I want to address that because I've been thinking a lot about that. That was true because when everyone was talking about Hillary's going to win, Hillary's going to win, Hillary's going to win, and I'm in New Jersey, I do heating and cooling, and I do service work. I'm not an installer, so I go house to house to house. I'm on the road, and I could count on one hand how many Hillary signs I saw, and it was Trump flags on trucks and everything. And I was surprised after the fact that everyone was like, "Oh, everyone thought Hillary had it." I was like, "They did?" Because I thought Trump actually had a chance because I saw those signs. The thing is that that's a different mindset. You don't see Biden signs out there and all that. Hillary won by the popular vote. Biden won by the popular vote. There's a certain mindset of the Trump people that are in your face. They are the ones that have the signs that say, "Fuck Joe Biden." Who puts that shit on their vehicle and drives around? So they're very, very loud. I'll give you that. But that's not a litmus test. It really
we're not
isn't.
discussing a general election. We're discussing a primary. So I mean,
Well, the Republican. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess the question comes down to: is the Republican Party the Trump Party like it used to be? And I don't believe.
When he has a 35-point advantage in the latest.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, if you want him to go to the debate, that's fine. He can or he can't. I don't care either way. But I'm just saying, if it's the third quarter of a game and you're up by 35 points, do you play your best player, or do you say, I think maybe my best player doesn't need to be in the game right now?
I think 35 sucks.
I'm saying that's the mindset
if I were a Republican, I'd be voting for DeSantis, but that's only because as a Republican, I'd be the stupidest human being in America. Yes, Vernon?
I'd like to go back to something that we were talking about earlier, and that's Mitch McConnell's health issues. I'd like to ask Josh what he feels about a law that was passed in Kentucky that says our Democratic governor, who would appoint any replacement should Mitch McConnell step down, the Republican majority legislature passed a law. Andy Beshear vetoed it, and they overrode his veto that says if he appoints a senator, it has to be from the same party as the outgoing senator.
That's interesting. I mean,
well, I don't
know. The governor could give him the finger, and then what do they do?
Well, I mean, that's sort of back to the original setup that we had at the very beginning of the Republic, where state legislatures did choose the senators, and that was obviously by amendment changed because it was viewed as somewhat anti-democratic, which is sort of how I would see it. I would see that as a bit of a manipulation of the system rather than the will of the people, because the will of the people in Kentucky was to elect Governor Beshear. And I live in an area and follow some of their news closely because the radio station that I listen to is 700 WLW, and it covers a lot of Kentucky's issues because Cincinnati's on the Ohio River, so I get some of that politics. I mean, that to me seems, I think it's a little out of bounds, but it's going to be up to the people of Kentucky to decide.
I don't know. I don't know that it is, though. I mean, if you have let's say you have a Democratic senator, and all of a sudden he dies in a car crash.
Yeah.
And now the governor's got to appoint somebody. Well, if he's a Republican, he's going to, put a Republican into office, and the people people voted Democratic.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's the answer there?
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, I think that's a little tough, but I know what you're saying. I would want, personally, the party that the people had chosen, to be honored, and then give them the right to make up their minds in the next election.
Yeah, and I mean, you could always, if you let's say you're a Republican senator and you got to replace a Democrat who's in office, you could always replace him with a more moderate Democrat. Doesn't mean that you have to have the same flavor of Democrat.
I guess what I would say is I think it's a little shameful that we've gotten to the point where we can't just trust maybe that a governor would do the right thing like we think what is the right thing and just sort of honor that, but legislatures have to get a little bit manipulative about it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's sort of a reflection of, you know, one side constantly has to be gaming the other, right? I mean, you know, a little bit ridiculous.
My feeling about it is that by honoring what the legislature did, we're going backwards in how we select senators, because we used to have the legislatures appoint the senators,
right.
And it used to be a big, you know, corruption deal. And then we had the amendment to the United States Constitution that says, no, you can't do that anymore. And our state legislature is now saying, oh, yes, we can.
Yeah. Only in the event of a vacancy.
No, only in the event of a, but that goes on for vacancies all the time. I mean, in California, when Kamala Harris became a senator, rather a vice president, he had to appoint somebody else to the Senate, so he did. You know, and of course it was another Democrat. He didn't put in a Republican, but it was another Democrat. But that goes on all the time. So I don't know that I disagree with the fact that it should be the same party. That would make a lot more sense to me than, you know.
I only disagree with it because it's the Republicans shoving things down our throats.
It's the Republicans shoving what down your throat?
They're shoving their ideas down our throats. They can't win it on a popular vote. Okay, they cannot.
Now, is your governor?
Majority,
is your governor a Republican?
No, he's a Democrat.
A Democrat. Then, you know.
And he won big. He won big.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done very well through COVID, through floods, through hurricane. I mean, tornadoes.
So if tomorrow,
he's done a really good job.
If tomorrow you had what's his name quit because of health problems.
The governor can appoint a replacement until the next election.
Yes, but
to fill out the term.
But since it's a Republican, do you think maybe he should put a Republican in, or do you?
I don't. No, I don't.
Has any governor filled a vacancy with a person from the opposite party? I don't think so. I don't have any recollection of any governor ever replacing a retiring or dying senator with somebody from the opposite party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure, to be honest with
you. How many more years does Mitch McConnell have in office, not in life?
He's up for re-election in 26.
In 26? I don't think he's going to make it that far.
I don't think he'll make it to the end of the year.
Well, I don't know that he's going to die. I just think that it's going to get to a point where he's going to say, or people are going to say to him, look, you know, you better
Well, it was obvious
retire.
that he had a stroke.
Well, it's not obvious he had a stroke, but it's pretty much, I'd give it the money. Patrick hasn't said anything. Did you see this Mitch McConnell performance the other day at all, Patrick?
Yeah, I saw it. I didn't think much of it. He came back. He seemed pretty lucid and whatever. I mean, we're dealing with a president who make mistake talking on a regular basis. So, you know, people are talking about dementia with him, stroke with McConnell. I think, see what happens. I don't think anybody should be forced out. I mean, if we want to redo things for age limit, like we have minimum, you know, there should be a maximum, maybe that's discussed. But right now,
well, who here would be for maximum on age?
Well, I don't know what maximum should be. I mean, because
well, you know, one guy who's I'm 83. Okay, one guy who's 83 is like I am, and other people who are 83 are far more lucid.
Right.
Know?
That's the hard part.
That's the point. And there are people that what is it, 34 is the minimum to become president?
35.
35.
Gotta be 35 to be president.
Okay. In my estimation, there are 35-year-olds that are about as mature as a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
And, you know, it goes both ways. So I don't know that I'm for age, a ceiling on age, because it's the individual.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, obviously if McConnell would have had a stroke right there, I mean, we're dealing with Dianne Feinstein.
Yes.
With no her own name anymore, it appears. And they're trying to shove her out, but she won't. I mean, there are all these issues that are coming up in the last 4 years with age that we had not seen really since Reagan, and he was only, what, 65?
Well, you know, the thing is that we
he
really...
was in his 70s.
He was in his 70s.
He was 69 when he was elected.
Yeah. But, I mean...
he was like 74.
Nevertheless, I think that, you know, I think that people should, for the sake of their party and the sake of their constituency, if they feel they are losing their abilities, just step down. I think
that's the point.
But politicians, by nature, are selfish.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Not going to think about everyone else. They say they are, but once they're in office, it's when's the next election?
Yeah,
it's just like the people that, you know, and we've discussed this, it's just like the people that want to keep adding to the Supreme Court and adding to the Supreme Court. It's just going to be a constant wheel of who's going to get elected to make sure that whatever they want is the result. So it's selfishness, and they're not going to think of the constituents.
Yes. Well, that's for damn sure.
It happens to everybody, and they don't, you know, you don't want to stop working, number one. I mean, I'm dealing with that with a certain person in my family that she's, you know, 83 years old and still working. She comes home and complains every frickin' night. and you still say, well, why don't you just relax and retire? No, I want the paycheck. She keeps going back to work. Comes home and complains. And then, why don't you quit? Why don't you take a rest? Why don't you enjoy life? No, I want to keep working. Okay, well, what, you know, and I get that, but, you know, that's the thing is you got to get people to understand, you know, think about what they're doing and what's going on, you know, like if Dianne Feinstein looks at her own video and sees what the hell's happening, maybe she would come to her senses and say, oh, look, that's pretty messed up.
Yep.
I was supposed to be making a vote, and I started doing a victory speech.
Well, again, you know,
realize it.
We go to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and we go back to that situation.
That's
and
another one.
Sometimes there's a time for you to leave when you're going to be able to leave and replace yourself with somebody of the same party who will do the same kind, have the same kind of philosophies, you know. But anyway, hey, I'm playing the theme here, which means it's time to go. But
you know who I'm not missing in this discussion?
Who? Huh?
Phil.
You know who I'm not missing in this discussion?
Who?
Is Phil.
Phil. Okay, good. I think I have to kind of agree with you because this wouldn't be a good discussion like we've had tonight. It's been a real good discussion. What?
If you saw the canine dog that got unleashed on the truck driver, that's where I live.
Okay.
Have a fun day tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. My wife can't go. My wife can't go to work tomorrow because her business had to close for the protests.
Yeah. Josh, thank you for being with us tonight. Jeff, thank
Say hi to
you.
Ben.
Thank you, Vernon. Thank you, Brian. Thank you to the other Brian with a Y who left us. And thanks to Kevin. Thanks very much to you, Alan, for joining us. Everybody had a nice, equal little say tonight. Charlie Wallace, thank you so much. What is it? Resistance is not futile. Resistance is what?
is voltage divided by current.
Oh, okay. Patrick, thank you, and thank you, Don Giller. Come on, call anytime, Don. Anyway, everybody give a big wave goodbye, and I'll give a big wave goodbye at you. And there they go, folks. That's our citizen panel for tonight. There'll be another one coming together immediately right after we're through here with Jack Bishop, and he will do that on the intersection. I will see you again. Let's see here. Oh, don't forget, he's on Skype at GabNet Live. I'll see you again on Monday on Facebook with the pop-up show, and then right back here again with you on, let's see, next Wednesday, 10:30 Eastern Time. And thank you so much for being with us. And if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Bye-bye, everybody. Good night.